Welcome back to the channel. Tune in or ghost out. If you are a returning viewer to the channel, you know just how much I love to talk about the economy, and we have some breaking news today. It is literally the most depressing thing I search up on a weekly basis. But in some unsettling news, the head of the Federal Reserve, Jerome Powell, just had a meeting where he announced the Fed would be cutting the interest rates by 0.25%. While this in itself is not a major shift and does not impact the markets that much, surprisingly, even after it was announced, the stock market actually had a volatile reaction to it, which many weren't expecting. But the reason was not just because of this rate cut, it was the promised rate cuts in the future of this year. I am not claiming to be an economist or an expert on these topics, but when the Fed does a 180 in the middle of the year and back down on their call to not mess with interest rates and promises at least 3 more cuts before this year ends, you know something is happening. And honestly, I think you would have to be a fool to think that the economy is in any spot but bad right now. And just to underline how bad it is, a new report shows that credit scores have dropped at the fastest pace since the Great Recession. And to nobody's surprise, Gen Z is leading the drop in numbers. On top of that, late rent payments are at an all-time high, record levels of car payments are being missed, and groceries are rising on average of 2% every single month. And with this rate cut, just kind of signifies that inflation is here to stay. In the meeting, Jerome Powell said that the 2% goal for inflation probably will not be met till 2028. And let me break it to you, that's not gonna happen. I think inflation ever going to 2% or even in that realm is a distant memory. I want to point back to just a few months ago when we passed one of the largest US spending bills of all time. We will probably suffer through some of the worst economic times in our future because our government doesn't know how to spend more than they have. The things that need to be done to save the economy, the painful things, just won't get done. It really seems like the government is only worried about making sure the boomers have a good time on their way out, because these solutions like rate cuts and not actually taking a focused look on what's going on with the economy only help the people who have money in this current system, which to no one's surprise is not the young people. Every study shows that people living in today's times will not have better outcomes than their parents, but yet our economy treats us like we're not there and doesn't do anything to understand our problems. Instead, they find ways to prey on Gen Z's bad financial situation. The fact that you can buy now, pay later on food just shows how much they don't care. And I say this every video, but the idea that we need to work harder is just so played out. It's getting to the point that Amazon won't even hire you. They want you to work harder when there's literally no jobs for you to get. We have negative jobs right now. But because the unemployment rate is not as high as people think it should be, spoiler alert, once you calculate the people working on just DoorDash and not actual full-time work, the unemployment actually is way higher than 4.3%. But because the numbers are not truly reflecting where we are right now, people are not panicking. Yet, all the signs are right in front of us that we're having a meltdown in real time, especially when you put your eyes on the stock market. People are claiming that we're in an AI bubble, and man, I couldn't agree more. One piece of news from this week that rubbed me very uneasy was the news of Nvidia putting a $5 billion stake into Intel. We touched on Intel in my last video, but to catch you guys up, the US government just bought a stake into Intel as well. On top of AI being a bubble, it is a bubble that has been corrupted by politics, and the moves that happen just do not seem organic. With every news story regarding AI talking about some psychopath or how it's going to take our jobs, the American public and just the public in the world in general have a strong sentiment against this. On top of the cost to run these data centers and AI super power hubs, I truly think we will see the bursting of this bubble, and when we do, all the problems we're facing today will just be exacerbated. Like, they're already saying we're in the Great Recession now, especially when you look at the amount of houses for sale and how unaffordable they are. There's more homes for sale today than there was in 2008 with the subprime mortgage crisis, and it's kind of sick to see that this is what they sell you out for, so they can build a data center right next to your house, destroy your quality of life, and raise your utility bill through the roof. And if you don't believe me, this is already a reality for Americans across the nation. If the AI sector of our economy even stumbles a little bit, the amount of impact that will be felt from household to household will be major. And this is throughout generations, because everybody's invested to the same stocks in America. So imagine if everybody's portfolio took a 10, 20, maybe even a 30% hit. This would affect the strength of the dollar and the American GDP in such immense ways I don't think we've ever seen. Many people say we're heading in the direction of the Great Recession. Some might even say the Great Depression, but I promise you this will be the likes of nothing we've seen before. And in large part, it will be because of the government we have in charge. And this is not me playing bipartisan politics. The president prior to the one we have now was not great, and the one that we have is terrible. The things we would need to do to get out of the situation that we're in require require tough choices to be made. One of the reasons Jerome Powell was so hesitant to lower interest rates was because of the impact he knew it had on inflation. If there's one person I would not want to be right now, it's Jerome Powell. He's stuck between a rock and a hard place. He literally cannot win. On one end, the job market is on faulty ground because of the terrible job reports we've had for years now, and on the other, there's no hope in sight, and these rates only make a problem worse. But the longer we wait to act, the more uncertain things seem. But it didn't help that he had the president in his ear telling him if he didn't do it, he'd be fired. Just like any other president, the current one wants to have a good economy going into the midterm. And instead of doing the hard work to make a good economy and fix the problems that are deeply rooted in our system, he would rather cut interest rates to zero, make borrowing easy, and create more inflation. At what point is the inflation dangerous? People are already having to go without, they're not eating red meat, they're not drinking coffee, and everything is becoming outpriced. So at what point do we stand up to inflation and say we will do the hard thing? I've talked numerous times on this channel about the impacts of inflation and how people are tired of being spat in the face, but instead of doing anything constructive to help people or having the companies find a soul and lower the prices to help the struggling people, the powers that be and the corporations just team up and find ways to raise prices, and they justify it with the terrible inflation reports. 3.8% inflation that's already priced in, and then on top of that, they're making you pay for the tariff. Let me not sugarcoat it, it will get worse. The Fed's hope to return to a 2% inflation rate by 2028 is a myth. In the coming future, I do think you will see interest rates be cut to a point that is not safe, and it will give the illusion of economy that's back up. The job markets might hire a little bit, but you will see what follows after that is layoffs, and I mean heavy layoffs. If you have not already, I would start living like you're in 2008. The reports that everything is okay and fine that the Fed Reserve was giving just 6 months ago have been alive for over 3 years now. If you have kept up with the true economy, we have been in danger since we have turned the decade, and this is because of bad practices all throughout the previous decade. People never really comprehended that we never recovered from 2008, and the economic things that happened in the 2010s was never seen before and not recreatable. So the recession that we face after it will be generational. I hate the fact that we have to keep living through historical events, but we have information to better prepare us for this one. And if you are still waiting for the government to tell you that we're in a recession or act differently, I hate to break it to you, they're not. They need to keep up this ruse as long as possible, because if people find out what's really going on, banks will be empty by tomorrow and the dollar's value will crash harder than it already is. I apologize I have to come to you with this news, but we need to be honest about the state of our economy. That is the only way we can prepare for the things to come. I want to see your family make it through this, so I want to prepare you with the tools to save and get ready for a future. And that means being frank about where we are at. If you agree or disagree with my assessment of the economy, let me know down below in the comments. Are we in trouble? Does this rate cut matter at all? Or is this a regular thing for the economy to do? Let me know your thoughts below. With that being said, thank you for tuning in. Until next time.
Transmission complete. Signal terminating. This is Ghost Thread, signing off.